I never thought I'd become the villain in my own home, but according to my mother-in-law, that's exactly what I am. It started on a Tuesday evening. I'd just gotten home from work, still riding the high of closing a major deal that would bring in a significant bonus next quarter. My laptop bag hung heavy on my shoulder as I pushed open the front door, already thinking about what to order for dinner. Maybe that new Thai place downtown, but the moment I stepped inside, I knew something was wrong. My husband, Marcus, sat rigid on the couch, his hands folded in his lap like a schoolboy called to the principal's office. And there she was, my mother-in-law, Diane, perched on the edge of our armchair like a queen on her throne, her lips pressed into that thin line I'd come to dread. "Don't you think it's excessive?" Her voice cut through the silence before I could even set down my bag. I blinked, trying to shift gears from work mode to whatever battlefield I'd just walked into. Excessive, all this spending. These gadgets, new appliances every other month. We don't need all this stuff. It's wasteful. She gestured around our living room as if it were some sort of monument to excess. I followed her hand, taking in our modest space. A decent TV, a laptop on the coffee table, a new air purifier I'd bought last week because Marcus had been complaining about his allergies. I work hard for my money, Diane. I think I have the right to decide how to spend it. That's the problem right there. It's not just your money. You're married now. You're part of this family. And families save. Families think about the future. Marcus shifted on the couch but said nothing. I stared at him, willing him to jump in, to say something, anything. But he just looked at his hands. I turned back to Diane, keeping my voice level. We do save. We have a savings account. We contribute to retirement. Just because I don't live like a monk doesn't mean I'm irresponsible. You eat out constantly. You're never home to cook proper meals. You replace things that work perfectly fine. That coffee maker you threw out last month, there was nothing wrong with it. It was 7 years old and the heating element was dying. I make coffee every single morning, Diane. I'm allowed to have a reliable coffee maker. See? This is what I'm talking about. This attitude. Everything has to be new, has to be fancy. She leaned forward, her eyes sharp and calculating. Marcus needs to start giving me a portion of his salary. Let me manage it. At least then, someone in this family will be thinking ahead. The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. I felt heat rising up my neck. Excuse me, you heard me. If he gives me part of his paycheck, I can make sure it's put to good use. Not wasted on takeout and unnecessary gadgets. I looked at Marcus again. His face had gone red, but still, he said nothing. Just sat there, letting his mother suggest that I, the higher earner in our household, was somehow bankrupting us. I don't think that's gonna happen, Diane. Well, we'll see about that. She stood up, smoothing her pants with deliberate, angry motions. You think about it, Marcus. You think about what's best for this family. And then she left, the front door clicking shut with a finality that felt like a threat. The silence that followed was suffocating. I stood there, my laptop bag still on my shoulder, staring at my husband. Are you going to say something? Or are you just going to let your mother dictate our entire financial life? She's just worried. You know how she is. Worried? Marcus, she wants you to give her your salary. She basically called me a wasteful child who can't be trusted with money. And you just sat there. What was I supposed to do? She's my mother. You're supposed to be my husband. You're supposed to have my back when your mother comes into our home and attacks me. She wasn't attacking you. She was just expressing concern. He finally looked up at me, and I saw it then. The weakness. The inability to separate himself from her. He was 32 years old, and he still couldn't say no to his mother. I turned and walked to our bedroom, closing the door more forcefully than necessary. I needed space. I needed to think. But thinking didn't help, because over the next 2 weeks, things only got worse. I started hearing things from our neighbors. Mrs. Patterson from next door mentioned, casually while we were both getting our mail, that she'd heard I was quite the spender. Mr. Chen from across the street asked if everything was okay financially, concern in his eyes. Even the mailman gave me a sympathetic look that made my skin crawl. Diane was talking. Of course she was talking, spreading her version of events to anyone who would listen. I confronted Marcus about it one evening after dinner, a dinner I'd cooked from scratch, ironically enough. Your mother is gossiping about me to the neighbors. You don't know that. Mrs. Craig Patterson literally repeated back to me things only your mother would know. Things about our finances, our spending habits. She's making me look like some kind of gold digger who's bleeding you dry. My mother wouldn't do that. His denial was so absolute, so reflexive that I wanted to scream. Then it got worse. His sister Ashley started showing up more frequently. She'd come over with grocery bags, making a big show of bringing food for the family, cooking meals in our kitchen while making pointed comments about how nice it must be to eat out all the time instead of doing the real work of cooking. You know, Ashley said one Saturday afternoon, stirring a pot of soup with aggressive efficiency, most families try to save money by cooking at home. It's healthier too. I cook at home plenty, Ashley. Could have fooled me. Mom says you're always ordering in. Your mom says a lot of things that aren't true. She turned to face me then, her expression a perfect copy of Diane's judgmental stare. Are they, though? Because from what I can see, you've got a new something or other every time I come over. New rug, new lamp, new air purifier. Meanwhile, my brother is working himself to the bone, and what does he have to show for it? He has a comfortable home, a marriage, and a wife who earns more than enough to contribute equally to our household. Not that it's any of your business. It is my business when my mother is worried sick about her son's future because his wife can't stop spending money. I left the kitchen before I said something I'd regret, but her words, combined with Diane's constant criticism, were like termites eating away at the foundation of my peace. I lay awake that night, Marcus snoring softly beside me, and I realized something. I was never going to win their approval. No matter what I did, how much I earned, how responsible I was, I would always be the outsider who didn't understand the family, who spent too much, who wasn't good enough. But maybe I didn't need to win their approval. Maybe I needed to teach them a lesson instead. The idea came to me slowly, like dawn breaking. If they thought I spent too much, if they wanted me to be more frugal, if they believed I was wasting money on unnecessary things, then fine. I'd give them exactly what they asked for. I'd cut back on everything. The next morning, I started making changes. I canceled our cable subscription. We didn't need it, right? Marcus could watch free content online. I called the internet company and downgraded us to the most basic plan possible. Just enough for email and light browsing. The washing machine had been making a funny noise, and I'd been planning to replace it. Instead, I found a YouTube video on temporary fixes and jerry-rigged it to work for a while longer. The refrigerator had a broken ice maker. I'd scheduled a repair guy to come out. I canceled the appointment. We could use ice trays. I stopped buying groceries beyond the absolute basics. Rice, beans, chicken, vegetables when they were on sale. No more specialty ingredients, no more trying new recipes that required expensive spices or imported goods. And I stopped ordering takeout entirely. Every meal was cooked at home. Simple, cheap, exactly what Diane thought I should be doing. But here's the thing they didn't know. The thing I didn't tell Marcus. I didn't actually change my lifestyle. I just changed what happened inside our house. I started eating lunch out every day at work. Long, leisurely lunches at the nice restaurants downtown. I'd always wanted to try that new French bistro, and now I did, on a Tuesday afternoon, savoring every bite of their coq au vin while sitting by the window watching the world go by. I bought myself things. Expensive things. A new designer handbag I'd been eyeing for months. A weekend spa package. Concert tickets to shows I wanted to see. I just kept them at my office or in the trunk of my car. Marcus never asked, never noticed. At home, I played the part perfectly. The frugal, responsible wife who'd finally seen the light. It took about 3 weeks for the cracks to show. Ashley came over on a Sunday, breezing in with her usual grocery bags, ready to save the day with her home-cooked meal. But when she opened our refrigerator, she stopped short. "Where's all your food? We're eating simpler these days." Taking Diane's advice about not wasting money, she stared at the sparse shelves, the basic staples, the lack of anything interesting or fresh. This is too far in the other direction. I shrugged, continuing to fold laundry on the couch. Can't win, I guess. Too much spending, not enough spending. There's no making some people happy. Marcus came in from the garage then, grease on his hands from trying to fix the lawnmower himself. Another thing I would have normally just paid someone to repair. "Babe, I can't get this thing to work. Keep trying. We're saving money, remember? Ashley looked between us, her face confused. Mom didn't mean you should deprive yourselves, didn't she? Because she made it pretty clear that I was spending too much, that we needed to save, that I was being irresponsible. So that's what I'm doing. Being responsible. The washing machine finally gave up completely 2 days later. It just stopped mid-cycle, our clothes sitting in cold, soapy water. Marcus called me at work, panic in his voice. The washer's dead, like completely dead. I think we need to buy a new one. We can't afford it right now. We're saving, remember? Take the clothes to the laundromat. The laundromat? Are you serious? Completely. Or you can wash them in the bathtub. People did laundry for thousands of years without washing machines. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. My mom is going to freak out. Then, maybe your mom should have thought about that before she criticized every purchase I made. I hung up feeling a savage sort of satisfaction. Diane showed up the next day. Of course she did. Marcus must have called her immediately. She walked into our house, her eyes scanning the space like a health inspector. I watched her take it all in. The dark TV, unplugged to save electricity. The sparse refrigerator. The broken washing machine sitting useless in the laundry room. The general air of making do instead of fixing. What is going on here? I looked up from my book. A library book because I'd canceled our e-reader subscriptions too. Just following your advice, Diane. Saving money. Being responsible. This isn't what I meant. No? Because you were pretty clear. I spend too much. I buy unnecessary things. I waste money. So I stopped. I stopped all of it. But the washing machine is broken. You can't just not have a washing machine. Why not? They're expensive. We're being frugal now. Marcus, she turned to her son, who'd been standing in the doorway like a ghost. You can't live like this. He shifted uncomfortably. She's right, Mom. This is what you wanted. I wanted you to be smart with money, not to live in poverty. Her voice had risen, and I could see the anger in her eyes. But beneath the anger was something else. Confusion. She'd pushed and pushed for us to live one way, and now that we were, she hated it. We're not living in poverty, Diane. We have everything we need. Food, shelter, working plumbing. We're just not buying new things all the time. We're making do. Making do, she repeated, her voice sharp. You're making my son live like a pauper. I'm making us live within the means you insisted we had. I thought this would make you happy. She stared at me, and I watched the realization dawn on her face. She understood. She finally understood that I was doing this deliberately, that this was my response to her constant criticism. This is ridiculous. Marcus, you need to fix this. Buy a new washing machine. Get your house back in order. With what money, Mom? We're saving it all, remember? Even Marcus seemed to be enjoying this, just a little. Maybe he was tired of being caught in the middle. Diane sputtered, looking between us, clearly trying to figure out how she'd lost control of the situation. Fine, I'll buy you a washing machine. No need, Diane, we're managing just fine. You're being stubborn and childish. I'm being exactly what you told me to be, frugal, responsible. Thinking about the future instead of wasting money on unnecessary appliances? She left in a huff, slamming our door so hard the windows rattled. Marcus turned to me, and for the first time in weeks, I saw something like respect in his eyes. That was intense. That was necessary. So, what now? Are we actually going to keep living like this? I set down my library book and smiled. No, I'm going to buy us a new washing machine tomorrow. A really nice one, the kind with all the fancy settings. And I'm going to restore our internet, and I'm going to keep living my life the way I want to live it, spending my money the way I want to spend it. But your mom just learned a valuable lesson. She doesn't get to dictate our lives. She doesn't get to tell us how to spend our money or live in our own home. And if she keeps gossiping to the neighbors, I'll make sure they all know exactly what kind of person she is. She means well. Maybe. But meaning well doesn't give her the right to control us. And it doesn't give her the right to disrespect me in my own home or behind my back. He nodded slowly, and I could see him processing it all. I should have stood up for you earlier. Yes, you should have. I'm sorry. I studied his face, seeing genuine remorse there. Then do better. Because I'm not going to spend the rest of my life being belittled by your family while you stay silent. If you want this marriage to work, you need to be my partner, not your mother's son. I will. I promise. I'll talk to her. Really talk to her. The next day, I bought the washing machine, a top of the line model that could practically do everything short of folding the clothes itself. I also restored our internet to the premium plan, bought a ridiculously expensive cut of beef for dinner, and stopped at that Thai place I loved on the way home. When Diane called that evening, Marcus actually answered and told her, firmly but kindly, that we appreciated her concern but that our finances were our business, that I worked hard and deserved to enjoy the fruits of my labor, that he trusted my judgment and wouldn't be giving her any portion of his paycheck. I could hear her squawking on the other end of the line, but Marcus held firm. When he hung up, he looked exhausted but also lighter, like he'd put down a weight he'd been carrying for too long. Ashley stopped coming over as frequently. The pointed comments about my spending dried up. The neighbors stopped giving me sympathetic looks or asking probing questions about our finances. And Diane, though she never apologized directly, did stop criticizing me quite so openly. She learned, I think, that there were consequences to treating me like an incompetent child, that I wasn't someone who would just sit back and take it. Our life returned to normal, or at least to a new normal, one where Marcus actually consulted me before making decisions about his mother's involvement in our lives, one where I felt respected in my own home. I still buy the things I want, I still enjoy nice meals out, I still believe that working hard means I deserve to enjoy my life. But now, I do it without the constant weight of judgment hanging over me. And Marcus, he's learning, slowly, to be a husband first and a son second, to stand up for our partnership instead of defaulting to whatever his mother wants. It's not perfect. Families never are. But it's better. So much better. Because I learned something important through all of this. Sometimes, the only way to teach people to respect your boundaries is to show them exactly what happens when they don't. Sometimes, you have to let them experience the consequences of their demands. And sometimes, just sometimes, a little bit of calculated pettiness is exactly what a situation needs. I make my coffee every morning in my expensive coffee maker, the one that grinds beans and froths milk and makes a perfect cappuccino. I sip it slowly, savoring every drop, knowing that this small luxury is mine, earned by me, chosen by me, and no one, not my mother-in-law, not my sister-in-law, not anyone gets to take that away from me. Because I'm not the villain in this story. I'm the woman who stood up for herself, who refused to be diminished, who fought back in the smartest way she knew how. And in the end, I won. Not by being cruel or vindictive, but by being exactly what they claimed I wasn't. Responsible, strategic, strong. I won by being myself, unapologetically, and refusing to let anyone make me feel small for it. And that, I've discovered, is the sweetest victory of all.